In the last episode, we talked about loneliness and we named it, we sat with it, and we talked about why it's real and why you don't have to be ashamed of it. And I hope, if nothing else, that you walked away from that one feeling a little less alone in the feeling of being alone, which I know sounds funny, but I really do mean it. And today, I want to take it somewhere else, because naming the loneliness is one thing, but you came here because you want something different. And I think it's worth asking a question that most of us have never actually stopped to answer. And you might have, but I'm thinking maybe you haven't. And that question is, what are you actually looking for? So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to get real and we're going to explore that a little more. Welcome to the Catch Your Breath podcast. I'm Inga, and I am so excited that you have decided to jump in and talk about these real topics, these real feelings, and truly move towards a more breathable homeschool. Because the truth of the matter is, it's harder to catch your breath if your homeschool isn't breathable, and it is the way that it's supposed to feel. But before we jump into the episode, I have to always start with this because I truly want you to know more than I want to know too, but you obviously cannot tell me in this moment, although you could email me. So definitely you could say, Inga, this is how I'm feeling. But I want you to always take a moment to ask yourself, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How has your week been? And have you had a moment to catch your breath? Because if you haven't, you know what I'm about to say. This is that moment. We're about to do that right here, right now. So we're going to take a moment, if you can, if you're not driving, whatever it is, to close your eyes, and we're going to do some deep breathing. So we're going to breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As always, press pause if you need some more breaths, or rewind and I'll do it with you again. I love to take those breaths with you. I do that before I start recording and while I'm recording because I get super excited, as you probably can tell, to talk to you about these things. And so it gives me an opportunity to calm myself down before we get started. So let's jump into it today, because here's something that I've noticed in myself and in the women that I talk to. A lot of times when we're going to look for community in this homeschool life, most of us, whether we realize it or not, are kind of looking for someone who homeschools like us or kind of looks somewhat like us, whether they have the same approach or the same values around education, or maybe they're using a similar education, a similar curriculum, because that's kind of how it started and it gives us something to talk about, or the kids are around the same ages. And I'm telling you, that was most definitely me. I was like, you know what? They said the Bible tells us to have the vision and write it down. I'm not quoting exactly right, but something like that. And I was like, so it'd be great if I had another family who had a daughter and 3 sons, because then my daughter would have somebody who understood I was like planning it all out. And I had one of my friends was like, really, Inga? Like, you're going that detail? I was like, well, they said to do it. And I'm thinking, and so I'm kind of looking around, keeping my eyes open for if anybody had that kind of same situation. Could they understand kind of some of what I was going through? And I would say I really have not found anybody like that. But I know that those things can create connections. So it's not about throw that completely out, because we know that shared logistics, and that's what I call it, the logistics, the demographics, that those shared things can build a friendship. But as I began to learn and form friendships, I don't think that's what makes someone your person. I really don't. Because you truly can sit in a co-op with 20 women who homeschool exactly like you, and you can still feel like a visitor in that community. And you can be in every Facebook group and still feel unseen. You can go to every play date and every park, and you can still drive home feeling like you left something important unspoken. And if you've ever experienced that, if you've tried those things and you still come home empty, I want you to hear this. The problem is not that you're hard to connect with. This is not I'm so hard, I'm so difficult, there's something wrong with me. It could be. The problem could be that you've been looking for the wrong kind of match. And I want to tell you something about my own experience here, because I think that it is a shift that I had to make, and I think it might be a shift for you. I'm hoping it could be. Because I've spent some time in communities that looked right from the outside, where there were other homeschool moms. They had similar values, they were busy, and they were full. And I still felt like I was wearing a mask a little bit. Like I was showing up as the version of myself that fit rather than the full, complicated, honest version. And I didn't understand for a really long time why those relationships felt like work instead of rest. And sometimes because I love to encourage and because I love to laugh and I love to, it's not even a persona of who I put on. It's just who I am. I like to have a good time. I like to be easygoing. I'm generally just love to be silly and laugh. I remember it's really crazy, but back in the day, they used to laugh and call me Sybil because they were like, Inga, like there's so many, there's so many layers to you. If we just never know who is going to show up. And it didn't feel like I'm putting on this different one. Those were just, that's all of the complicated me. That's what makes me me. But what I realized is that in the midst of that, I wasn't looking for someone who just homeschooled like me. I was looking for someone who was honest like me, who had just was really comfortable showing up as who they were, flawed and all. Like I would tell people in the very beginning, if they are starting to get to know me, I have these idiosyncrasies, I have these flaws. I'm just sometimes I say a hot mess express, but just like I feel it's like corny. I'm very corny. I tell people all the time, like I tell our homeschool community, the co-op that I run, that like I'm just corny. That's just, it's a truth. My kids know it. They're probably like, if you could see my mom, she does the most corniest, silliest. Like I don't do the break dance and stuff anymore because my body's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. We're not getting on the floor. But I just realized that I wanted somebody that just was real. And they don't have to be exactly that silly or that crazy, but that they showed up really as who they were and I could accept that. And then I could show up really as who I was and they would accept that. I would accept who they were and they would accept who I am. And I wanted someone who would say the hard, true thing instead of the encouraged, tiny version. And listen, I am an encourager by nature. I love it. I'm not even trying sometimes. It just comes up. But I also have hard days. And I have days where I'm just like, where my children make me want to go. And I wanted someone that I didn't have to perform for. Someone who, when I said I'm struggling, wouldn't immediately hand me a solution. And they would just say that with me too. And I found as a coach that I had to be able to be that for someone and not always try to fix it and not even encourage them out of it, but go in it with them. Like how the Bible tells us that you have those who mourn with you. That's what I wanted to do. And when I started to really decide that that's what I wanted, I feel like that shift changed everything. And it not what I was doing, but what I was looking for. So let me offer a different way for us to think about this. Our people are not necessarily, and may not necessarily, let me say may not necessarily be the women who are in the same homeschool season that we're in. And they're not necessarily the women who use the same curriculum or they live in your neighborhood or they have kids the same ages as yours. And those things might overlap, but they're not the thing. That's not what it has to be. Your people, and I've learned this no matter what the age, I have a person that we started talking and I admire her and I was just like, wow. And her kids are completely done. She's done homeschooling and has been done for like 3 years. Graduated her last one. I think she has 5 kids, something like that. And just the encouragement that she gives me and just being able to just listen to her, give wisdom, but also, she's not learning anything in the moment because she's not going to go and talk about it. But sometimes she'll say like, that was really good. I wish I would have known that. And just even that little bit of her saying that, I'm like, oh, wait, why? Was that wisdom? Because sometimes you don't know that you're dropping wisdom. You need somebody to be like, that was good. like I'll say with my friend, that'll preach. So your people are the women who make you feel less alone in the parts of this that are hard. They let you say the real thing. They believe in what you're doing, even on the days when you're not sure that you believe in what you're doing. They're the women who are going to pray with you or laugh with you or just sit with you. And they aren't performing either. And this is something that I've come to believe about the kinds of people that we actually need in this life. I think we need all three. And I believe this as certainly as my name is Inga. And I have gone a little deeper in the cohort program that we're going through, but I just want to say it simply here. And you've probably heard me say it before if you listen and we've talked about anything with friends. You need someone who is ahead of you, someone who has already walked some of where you're walking and can say, I made it through that and here's what helped. But you also need someone who is right beside you in the middle of it with you. Not ahead, not behind, just in the same messy season. And that season doesn't necessarily have to look like your season, but it's their messy season. So whatever it is in the midst of that. And you need someone who is just starting, someone a little behind you, because there is something about pouring into someone else that reminds you how far you've come and allows you to see the value in the things you've gone through and the value in yourself. And those three people don't all have to be your best friends. And it's not about best friends. And so I talk to my daughter a lot. She's in this season where I'm saying you can have friends, really good friends that are not your best friends. And that's okay. And they don't all have to be in the same room. But when you have some version of all of these three, something within you starts to settle because it meets a need. It meets all of those needs at a level that you didn't even maybe realize that that's what you needed, because you stop feeling like you're the only one that's navigating this without a map. I want to be honest with you about something, because I always believe in normalizing. And I think that the more we don't say something, when you're feeling it, it feels like you're the only one. So I just want to say this. Finding your people in this life is hard. It is hard. It is hard. So if it feels hard, it's because it is hard. But that doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. It just doesn't. And this is for homeschooling, but also you can take this out of homeschool and just be in that season. If you've moved, if you have been in the same place, if you've been in the same church or in your new church and you're trying to find your people, it's not easy. And for some people, you're probably like, it's super easy for me. Okay, I'm not talking to you right now. I'm talking to those of us who this is hard, because most of us come into this life and into this homeschooling without a built-in community around it. And we didn't inherit, most of us didn't inherit it. We chose it, and we didn't often have a roadmap, and we didn't always have people around us who understood what we were doing and why. And so building that connection takes a lot of vulnerability. And vulnerability takes safety, and safety takes time. So the search is sometimes slower than we want it to be, but that's okay. The most important thing is to not give up. And I don't know if it's just me, but if it's just me, I'll just speak for me. Sometimes because of how hard it is, I'm like, I'm done. I'm good. I'm good. I tell myself I don't really need that strong of a community, that deep of a community. I'm just going to say service level, because sometimes you go through these hurts and you're like, I'm not doing this anymore. But just know that it's worth it. And as we've talked about in the last episode, it is a design thing. You were created to be in community together. So we actually don't get to opt out of it. I know, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to say it to you. I don't want to hear it from myself, but it's just true. We don't get to opt out of doing life together. Now, there are some people in your life that don't need to be in your circle. So I'm not saying that, okay, every single person needs to be in that circle with you. But I know that we have to do it. We have to have it. We have to have that support. We cannot do it without it. We're not supposed to do it without it. And sometimes it feels harder with it than it does without it. But the reality is it's worth continuing to try to work towards having it. The other thing that I feel like I've learned is that when a connection doesn't work and you tried and it fell flat, the most useful question is not what did you do wrong or what did they do wrong even. I'm learning that the most useful question is, what did I learn about what I need and what I don't need? And that has changed. So nothing is wasted if I do that. And I can say, okay, even if I'm thinking about, I wish I would have done that better. What did I learn about how I approach that? Because sometimes I meet somebody and I'm like, I want to be your friend. Oh my God, this is so amazing. And then it's like, womp, womp, womp. And I'm like, what happened? And before I'd be like, well, what did I do wrong? And it's like, okay, was that just for a season? Did I jump too quick? Was it not where God was calling me? So now I'm taking it as what it is. I'm allowing it to be nice and slow. I'm allowing myself, when things don't work, to ask myself, what did I learn from that? About what I need, about what I don't need, about what's good, but what is not good for me in this season, what's not good for me at all. And I now can use that relationship that didn't work out as information to tell me what fits and what doesn't fit. And even some things that seem like they fit right away that don't, I can still say that's not failure. And other things where I'm like, okay, this is really going really well. I can continue to learn about that. And then that's how you find your way toward the right thing. I do want to say this before I talk about your one thing for today, because the reality is, as I'm talking to you about this, and it's all of the things that you already have to do with homeschooling that seem overwhelming, this could feel like yet another thing. Like I have to evaluate the friendships and I got to go back and look at this thing and and I know that can feel like I don't want to do this. And so it has to be breathable for you. So I'm not saying go and do all these things. I think it's first to normalize that sense of feeling alone. You're not the only one feeling it. But then also to say, even if you just say, what am I looking for? What do I want? Honestly, without judgment, you could say, what kind of person do I actually need right now? And it could be a different season, because we have different seasons for different things. But that's your one thing for today. Just that one thing. To ask yourself honestly, and please do not judge what your answer is and be like, I shouldn't need that. Oh, that's not fair or whatever. Just what kind of person do you actually need right now? And not what kind of homeschooler, what kind of person. Do you need someone ahead of you who you can tell that they get it and they have it together? Do you need someone besides you who is in it with you too? Do you need someone that you can pour into because you need to see that whatever you've been through hasn't been wasted? What do you want right now? What kind of person? And I'm thinking of that type of that's where it is, but it could just be I need somebody who will listen. I need somebody who is just gonna hear me. I remember what it felt like truly when I had a person who I thought didn't want to hear anything that I had to say. And honestly, I don't think I felt like I had anything to say. And so it was like the little nuggets of things that we'd be talking about. She's, oh, that's good. And every time she would say that, I'm like, huh. And I remember her coming up afterwards and saying, you have so much wisdom to share. And it's like, what are you talking about? Girl, I'm a hot mess right now. But it was just not in that moment. I'm not going to be like, oh, I got it then. But as I was looking back, I'm like, that to me was God's grace to say, I'm using everything. I'm using everything. And so I just want you to trust that. I want you to trust that you don't have to have the answer today. But I do encourage you to start asking the question, because most of us truly have never asked it. We just hoped that the right people would appear. And that's really a lot of times how friendships and relationships have been. And we're just kind of hoping. And sometimes they do. So I'm not saying that they don't. But if you're in a season where you feel like it hasn't, it might be that you have to know what you're looking for before you can even recognize it when you see it. I just want to encourage you, though, no matter where you are in this, no matter how you might feel alone, your people are out there. And they might already be closer than you think. And they probably are feeling exactly what you're feeling. And they're just waiting for someone to go first and be real. Well, it might as well be you if you're ready. And if you're not, it's okay. Okay, breathe. We talked about a lot in these 2 episodes. And I know I feel it. I feel kind of the heaviness, but also I feel the excitement of saying like, hey, we don't got to carry this alone, because we named the loneliness. We talked about that. We stopped apologizing for feel it. We started to ask some better questions about what we're looking for. And I want you to know now that this is not the last time we're going to talk about this. Of course not, because finding your people is one thing. Cultivating those relationships and knowing how to tend them in the middle of a full and busy life, that's a whole other conversation. And it is one that I love having, because as I tell my daughter, we really, and really, I love that, like I said, God is using everything. So as I'm having conversations with her, as I was having conversations with her when she had a really hard friendship that kind of just broke apart and broke her heart, it really had us go deeper into friendships and to be able to normalize that they can be hard and that maybe we haven't learned as much about them as we could. And so I love having these conversations. I love exploring them for myself, not just for you, but for myself, to be able to determine how to best cultivate relationships, how to find our people. We all want it, whether we say it or not. Whether if you're an introvert and you're like, I just want one person who can come when I want them to come and leave me alone when I don't want to be bothered. Whatever it is, we all need it. We all want it. And so right now for today, I just want you to sit with that question. What kind of person do you need? Ask yourself, write that down. What kind of person do I need? And then that's enough. And just answer that. Once again, as always, I hope that this was truly helpful to you. I hope that it opened your eyes to some things that maybe you were like, made you say, okay, I love when I have my guests say, I was like, yes, you're speaking it. If it does that for you, I want that. Let me know. I hope that it helps you to frame what you're feeling a little differently, to give yourself permission to desire to have your people and to think about how are you going to get them into your life. And if it was helpful, as always, because the only way that we're going to share this mission and this mindset and this movement of a breathable homeschool and help people to know that this is really how it's supposed to feel, that you're supposed to be able to breathe through this, is if we share it one person at a time. So if this episode did anything for you and you say, even if it's that girl that you're like, I think that she might be my people, send it to her and she might say, hey, you're my people. But until next time, remember to take a moment to catch your breath.